Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Welcome to the Eco Ramadan Love Food Hate Waste virtual talk. My name is Jasmine and I will be your host for this morning. Now, first and foremost, if you have registered from the Mangalinga app, please don't forget to check in and scan the QR code shown in the screen. Now we ask that everyone keep their mics on mute. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and we hope that you will enjoy the session today. Now, before we begin the program, we will start with the recital of Surah Al-Fatiha, which will be led by my colleague here, Muiz Waki.
الفاتحة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Now, the Eco Ramadan virtual talk, Love Food, Hate Waste, is organized by Green Brunei in collaboration with Kilang Reroute, where we will mainly touch on the topic surrounding the issue of food waste. Why are we holding this talk during Ramadan specifically? This is because it is found that food waste has increased substantially, especially during this holy month, where there is a tendency of overbuying food, not only among Bruneians, but also from Muslims from all over the world. Now, with that, the objective of the program is to promote awareness on food waste through our invited speaker, Ms. Hadira Zainuddin from Kilang Reroute, where she will further share on ways to reduce food waste and the benefits it will bring not only to the environment, but also implementing better habits in our lifestyle. Now, before we start, we would like to invite everyone to open their cameras for a group photo. Okay. So we will wait for everyone to open their cameras, yeah? Don't be shy, guys. Okay, I see a few people opening their cameras already. Okay. Okay. I'll give you another minute left to those who haven't opened their cameras. Don't be shy.
Okay, for the first page, smile, 1, 2, 3. Okay, second page. Smile, 1, 2, 3. Third page, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, so before we proceed, is everyone okay so far? If you are feeling okay, you can open your mic or type 1 in the chat box, or if you're feeling hungry, you can type 2 in the chat box as well. One, okay, I see a lot of one. Hungry, okay. One, okay, wow, great. Everyone is feeling okay. Number 2, it's okay. We only have about, 9 hours left until Sunkai, so pull through, Alia. You can do this, I believe in you. Pull through, Rabi. Okay, all right. Okay, so thank you for that. Now to officially start the event, we will now invite our guest of honor, Yang Berhormat Dayang Harinisa binti Awang Haji Ashari to deliver her opening speech.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning and Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. First of all, allow me to express my sincerest appreciation to the organizing committee for your efforts in hosting today's event. I would like to welcome our invited speaker, Hazira Zainuddin from Kilang Reroute, who will share insightful information regarding food waste issues and ways we can do to reduce wasting food. Ladies and gentlemen, food waste is a growing issue in our country. In 2019, approximately 32% of waste generated in our landfill consists of food waste. When it decomposes on its own, it will emit greenhouse gases, which in turn contributes to climate change effects. The tendency of overbuying food has contributed to this issue, especially during Ramadan. This can be reduced or prevented by implementing better habits in our lifestyle. We hope through today's virtual session, it can help spread awareness and share knowledge on food waste. We are thankful for Hazira from Kilang Rirut for sparing your time with us to share more about the issues surrounding food waste and how we can prevent it, especially now in Ramadan, and help the audience learn how we can incorporate this in our lifestyle. Moreover, this virtual talk will help individuals of all backgrounds better understand the benefits and reasons to reduce food waste. By the end of the event, I hope you will gain new knowledge and a better understanding of the food waste issues and the ways we can prevent them. I will now be passing the floor back to the host who will be facilitating the talk. Thank you once again to the speaker and attendees today for your presence. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the lovely speech, YB. So now I would like to pass the floor to our invited speaker from Kilang Rirut, Ms. Hazira Zainuddin.
Hello, assalamualaikum everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Let me share my, how do I share my screen? Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, so hello. Is my screen okay? Like, can you see the presentation?
Yeah.
So nothing's blocking the screen, right? Is there something?
There are, yeah.
Okay. So I guess I cannot check my chat box throughout this presentation, but that's fine. Okay, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum everyone. Good morning. First of all, thank you so much for spending your precious Friday morning with me and to learn more about food waste. And I hope this session can be a good start to your day, inshallah, hopefully. So welcome to this session held by Green Brunei. The title that they said is actually Eco Ramadan Love Food Hate Waste. But I decided to narrow down the topic to follow the spirit of Ramadan, which is on mindfulness. So I don't have any rules for my session, thank God. But it's going to be quite casual, I would say. But I would appreciate it if you can engage during the session if possible. Although this didn't go quite as planned, because I was planning to see all the reactions and chats, but I cannot check them today. But yeah, if you have any thoughts or reflections throughout the session, you can just put them in the chat box and I'll see them at the end of the session. I would really encourage you to do some reflections throughout the session, because after all, Ramadan is a month of reflection again. So if you have some thoughts, just put it down in the chat box, and I will also open up a Q&A session at the end. And inshallah, I hope this presentation will shed light on the issue of food waste in Brunei, and hopefully open up more conversations in the future. So, wait, what's happening? Okay, so let's get started. So this is the outline for today's session. I'll introduce you to Kilang Rirut, what we do, and then I'll talk about food waste and then food waste in Ramadan. And I will also be focusing more on the socio-cultural lens. I want to bring people to understand why it's so difficult to change sometimes, even though we know that food waste causes environmental damage. But then sometimes we still struggle. So I want to talk more about that later. And then at the end, I will share the tips on what we can do to reduce food waste. And then I'll open up the session for Q&A, inshallah. So Kilang Rirut, why is my, Okay, so Kilang Reroute is a team of 4 ladies led by Siti Jafar. I think she's in this session today. But yeah, it's led by Siti Jafar, and I'm sure you've seen her somewhere because she's kind of everywhere. Yeah, and then we also have Anika. Anika is the person behind Reuser BN, and you probably would know her as well. And then we have Shamila, who is in charge of PR and media stuff, and she edited all the videos that I will share with you today. Yeah, and of course there's me. I'm Hazira Zanidin. I totally forgot to introduce myself. But yeah, I'm Hazira, and I'm in charge of admin in Kilang Reroute. But my main occupation is I'm a master's student studying sociology. So my current research has to do with youth employability, volunteerism, and things like that. And I have a studygram. But yeah, that's where I talk a lot about my experiences at my academic journey, basically. So Kilang Reroute was established in November 2020. We were actually the 2021 grantees for YCL Seats for the Future. So we kicked off the team because of YCL Seats. And then, so yeah, our aim is to understand food consumption and tackle food waste in Brunei. So yes, our main focus is especially on food waste. We do encourage like plastic-free and zero waste lifestyle in the process, but our main focus is food waste. So on the screen, you can see our vision and mission. So simply, we wanna build a community that is very conscious about food waste. And we also hope to promote local products in Brunei. And we actually did this more last year. We collaborated with some businesses to what did we do? Like workshops. We actually had like macrame bag workshops, tote bag workshops, and we also made soaps out of bananas, and that was really interesting as well. So yeah, we did that a lot last year, but hopefully we will have more opportunities to do that this year. And we've collaborated with some agencies like BIBD, Baiduri, Justri, and several other NGOs in Brunei. But you can check that out. Check that out on our Instagram at kilangreroute.bn. So yeah, now let's get down to business. First of all, what is food waste and why is it an issue? Firstly, I will show you a video that we made last year to basically give you a general overview of food waste. So here it goes.
As humans, we love food. Food provides our bodies with nutrients for survival and growth. It produces energy that keeps us warm, active, and moving. Food is more than an essential need. As much as we love food, we also do not realize that we love throwing food. According to Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted globally each year, and 1/3 are waste from food produced for human consumption. Why do you think we have extreme food waste happening around the world? And what are the economic, environmental, and social consequences from excessive food waste? In the United States of America, 40% of its food goes wasted every year, and much of the food are still edible and nutritious. Despite the increase in awareness from individuals and businesses about the problem, food waste remains a huge issue, even with the help of recycling schemes. Although modern recycling technology can sort different materials, it is very difficult to separate organic waste from mixed and other non-organic waste. So, what actually happens to all that food waste in landfills? And is food waste contributing to global warming and climate change? When food waste is disposed to landfills, it damages the environment as it releases methane as it rots. Food waste will break down into organic acids and methane-producing bacteria and is actually 84 times intoxicating than carbon dioxide as a heat-trapping gas. While it's easy to say we should just stop wasting food, Nat Spang, an assistant professor in the Department of Food Science and Technology at the University of California, Davis, claims it's not that easy. We're just starting to scratch the surface in really understanding the dynamics of this complicated problem. Spang's study highlights the systemic factors that contribute food waste through structural, cultural, and social factors rather than individual actions of the producers and consumers. Food goes through a supply chain where they are planted, harvested, processed into goods, or are transported to retail centers for consumption. Around the supply chain, there are losses on the farm and losses after harvest due to factors beyond the grower's control, such as weather, diseases, market prices, and labor costs. Food loss refers to food that are spoiled before it reaches to the marketplace or its consumer, especially during transportation from farm to retail. Market-based quality plays a significant role in food waste, meaning food that are not qualified based on standard qualities in size, shape, color, and maturity are left in the field. On the other hand, food waste occurs when food are discarded due to overbuying, poor planning, expiry dates, or left to spoil at stores and in homes. Supermarkets, restaurants, and consumers are responsible for the majority of food waste. Overstock shelf life, mismanagement of inventory, and oversized food portions. However, there are other factors on its cultural geography that can influence food waste. We are not just wasting food, but also the resources used to produce them, including water, land, fuel, and labor. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, the amount of food lost and wasted across the supply chain is more than enough to feed 815 million hungry people 4 times globally. One potential solution is to have organizations to start a food bank to help eliminate food loss on farms. Now, it's time for us to do our part by becoming more conscious of the food we purchase, how we store them, and the amount of waste that goes into our bins every day. Change our consumption pattern by planning our meals, being conscious of our eating habits, and find value in composting. Every sector of the supply chain can contribute solutions to combat excessive food waste. Let's fight food waste together.
All right. So basically that sums up, that actually sums up my entire presentation for today. So yeah, now food waste. Food waste is an issue. I think I hear something. Is that on my side? Okay, it's gone. Yeah. So yeah, food waste. So food waste is actually an issue that is often overlooked and rarely discussed, despite its contributions to the global greenhouse gas emissions. So last year, I had this opportunity to participate during the Youth for Climate event conference, where we had to discuss, we met with youth all from all over the world and then discuss to formulate this document that will be forwarded to COP26. So by the end of the event, we managed to compile a document, a 44 pages document. But unfortunately, I noticed that the topic about food only came up in this single page out of 44 pages. And the statement addressing food waste directly is only touched on about 2 sentences, I think. So yeah, so I think food waste doesn't really get a room on the discussion table most of the time. I mean, it's kind of understandable because food waste is an issue that happens behind closed doors. It usually happens in our kitchen, and even in supermarkets, it happens behind, at the back door. We don't really see it happening in front of us. So it doesn't really get discussed much, but it's understandable, but quite unfortunate. But yeah. So when we talk about food waste, there are 2 concepts, as you have watched in the video. There are 2 concepts that we use. First is food loss, and second is food waste. So food loss, so there's a difference between these 2. So food loss is food that is spoiled, or it doesn't meet the quality during the process macam masa planting. It doesn't grow as expected. It has bruising, wilting, so it doesn't reach the consumer. It doesn't reach retail. So that is when food is lost. But food waste is food that is fit for consumption. You can eat it, you've bought it, but then you just throw it away because either you don't want to eat it, or like it's just an excess in your kitchen. And yeah, so there's a difference between these two. And I wanted to emphasize on the differences because food loss and food waste in it's something that is beyond our control versus something that is within our control. So I wanted to highlight that because usually sometimes we're too ambitious when it comes to change, and like we want to change everything, but then sometimes you really have to focus on the things that we can change, which is the food waste, which is something that is actually within our reach. Because like it really doesn't, as a beginner, like for me, right, if I want to solve issues on food waste, I can't, like, I'm just beginning, and then I don't have any relationship with farmers or anything, so it doesn't really make sense for me to fill up my head and be so stressed out about how much food are these farmers wasting, because that is beyond my control. So that is like the essence of my presentation as well, focusing on things that we can control and making taking steps to actually reach a goal. So yeah, and then like one of the best ways for us to contribute to food waste reduction is actually by practicing mindfulness in whatever we do and being conscious of what we buy. So where does food waste happen? Food waste and food loss happen. So it basically happens everywhere, but usually in different stages of the food system. So if you see, sometimes it happens in developed countries, it also happens in developing countries. So in developed countries, usually these countries are the rich ones. So dorani yang mampu lah. So it usually happens in societies with high purchasing power and high rates of consumption. So they tend to waste due to excess, like bali tapi in the pemakan, so they throw away because it's so easy. You can just buy it. So it's very common for developed countries to experience food waste. But for developing countries, food waste and food loss also happens, but usually due to different reasons. Usually it happens during the processing stage or production stage because of things like improper farming techniques, or even if it also already reaches the retail stage, right? What am I going to say? Okay, so even if it reaches the retail stage, usually it goes bad because of the lack of technologies, the lack of proper storage techniques lah. So because some food requires refrigeration and many countries cannot afford that. So it goes bad quickly. So I think this will explain why there is like if you look up countries with high waste generation, it's kind of fun. It's kind of a funny mix because ada juga countries yang rich, ada juga countries yang less rich, right? So this is the difference between the two. So how does it happen? It happens due to many reasons, as mentioned in the video as well. So it happens due to many reasons. The first reason, I think this we tend to highlight this first reason, is because of issues with suboptimal foods. There's this terminology called suboptimal foods. So these kinds of food can be categorized as suboptimal when first it is either close to expiry or macam nagipatah in the bike, so like wilting, or it's good sebenarnya, but then during the process of transportation, tiba-tiba it's not good anymore. So that is considered as suboptimal food. And also food that is cosmetically imperfect, or yang biga tu lah, macam aneh usulnya the fruits ito. So yes, there's also beauty standards in the food, among vegetables, fruits. We tend to choose food that are pretty, that are aesthetically pleasing. It's I think it's natural, but it does cause that damage as well. And usually, right, food that are ugly usually they don't even make it out to the shelf. They just like sampai kadai, they're from supplier, sampai kadai, and then if it's not good, it won't be on the shelf as well. So it gets thrown away. And then second reason is also because of food policies. when there is extra food, like macam belabe, the fruits and vegetables atau the belabe, these fruits are, it also depends on the agreements lah, because some agreements, like I've read agreements between a supplier from abroad and a local company. So if there is an excess amount of produce, they will, sometimes they're not allowed to sell it at a lower price. So they will have to throw it away just because it's an agreement between the two parties. And then for local supplier and business relationship, usually kalau ada belabe, they will need to return to the supplier, and then the supplier will decide what to do with those produce. And then another reason why food waste happens is because of festivities. Like, you know, in Brunei, we're big on the festivities, I think. Like we go big with food. Like in Ramadan, we eat a lot. In Eid, there's a buka, like what do you call that? Open house, yeah. We usually have open house. We serve big amounts of food, and I think it's a very common mindset in Brunei. It's better to have a lot of something rather than kekurangan. Yeah, and then we have birthday parties. We're so big on food, right? And then, you know, other things that cause food waste is also like habit of overbuying, improper food storage, and then in restaurants they serve you a fixed portion that you can't really, macam sebenarnya you don't need that portion, but then they serve a fixed amount, and then what you don't eat just ends up in the bin. So why is it a big deal? I think I would point out on these two main reasons. The first is because food waste is food waste is one of the highest human caused greenhouse gas emissions. So it leads to changing weather patterns. So I think, I don't know about you, but I think like it's so obvious right now. The weather is so weird lately, and yeah, I don't know. So yeah, and we really need to take it seriously because it's an economic strain, because, you know, environmental damage because of climate change, again, like it leads to a lot of economic strain, because we have to to tackle the issues caused by climate change. And then, as mentioned in the video before, when we waste food, we're also like wasting the resources used to produce the food. For example, right, you're a farmer, just think about it like that. You're a farmer, you go out every single day, you're watering your plants every single day, like driving your tractor in your farm and then harvesting, and then sekalinya it ends up wasted. So it macam you know, it's like a waste of human labor, a waste of water, land. It's just a waste of a lot of resources, basically. And then the second reason is because people are hungry. Now there are a lot of issues on food insecurity. Yeah, as according to the video again earlier, we mentioned that if we were to it's not an issue about the lack of food all over the world. It's just an issue of food not being distributed correctly to the right people that need it. And I think also it's very interesting because this year I managed to tune into the Legislative Council meeting, and they touched on food security a lot this year compared to last year. And it's also a result of COVID-19. And I think that's a very funny, it's really funny that we are experiencing food insecurity while at the same time having food waste as the biggest contributor to our entire waste. So it's, you know, I think it's a funny match between the two. So yeah, so let me talk more about Brunei. And yet again, Brunei, I think a lot of you might have heard this. In 2020, Brunei was reported as the highest waste generator in ASEAN. I'm not exactly sure if we still hold this record, but yeah, so basically Brunei really has no time to waste. At the current rate of our food waste generation, right, our landfills are expected to reach full capacity by 2030. So that is like just 8 years from now. So yeah. So according to a report, I actually forgot where I got this from, but according to the report, we waste 1.15 kilogram of waste per capita per day. Per capita means per person. So every single day, you and I on average weighs about 1.15 kilograms of waste every single day. So, and it doesn't look a lot, right? But then when you compare it to the global average, this is an average all around the world. The global average is only 0.76%, 0.76 kilogram per day per person. So that says a lot about Brunei. Yeah. So when we look at the composition of the waste, 36%. The number varies. I'm not. I'm not. I don't remember which year I got this from, but from that report, it says 36% of our waste composition is food waste, followed by plastic, green waste, and paper. But ironically, right, despite food waste being the first, we don't really see a lot of conversation around food waste. We see conversation about reducing plastic, reducing, satula. So it doesn't really get discussed a lot. Yeah. And then now I'm gonna, oh yeah, this is actually an article. Oh, wait, where is it? Yeah, this is actually an article written in Brunei Times. I really think it's a really well-written article, so I highly encourage you to check it out. Basically, this article talks about how in some supermarkets, di Brunei, this is in Brunei. So in some supermarkets, they throw away about $1,000 worth of rotten produce per month. And usually they throw away about 1 kilogram or like 2 to 3 kilograms of produce every 2 to 3 days. So I'm not sure about the updates on this, but this was written in 2016. And yes, this is in Brunei. You can see exposed belong to us, which got there. But I don't know about how it is today. Maybe there are improvements, but yeah, this is a really good read if you want to know more. You can just Google like, what did I Google? You can just Google food waste, Brunei Times. Yeah, and it'll pop up. So food waste in Ramadan. So I actually wanted to have a raise of hands, but I cannot see your faces right now. But yeah, I don't know, maybe you can just raise your hands and you can look at each other. How many so how many of you think that you waste more food during Ramadan and why? So you can share this in the chat box or whatever, and maybe I'll see this later on. I'm very sorry, I can't see the chat box right now. But yeah, first of all, I really tried to find information and solid data from Brunei, but I really couldn't. But I tried. But yeah, I looked at some information from our neighboring countries in Malaysia. I know the number will be a lot bigger, obviously due to the massive difference between our population sizes. But I think the pattern would be quite similar due to our similar culture and lifestyle. So I found the first sentence above it up. I found that really interesting. It says that the author wrote that in Malaysia, 120,000 tons of food waste is generated in Ramadan. This is in 2019. So they generate that amount of food waste, and which is equivalent to 343 million packs of nasi lemak ayam. I found it interesting because we usually compare things with, berapa buting nasi katok dapat ko bali ito, etc. So yeah, and think about it, right? If you know the population size in Brunei, population size, I haven't read the latest report by JPES, but based on their preliminary findings from last year, our population size is 429,999 people as of 2021. And then, so let's just assume it's 500,000 lah. Let's just assume 500,000 people. So with 1 million packs of nasi lemak, we can buy every single person in Brunei at least 2 packs of nasi lemak. So with 343 million packs of nasi lemak, we can literally feed every single person in Brunei at least 686 packs of nasi lemak. Yeah, tapi nasi lemak lah saja cerita kan. So puas waktu makan, and then that is just the amount of waste produced in 1 month of Ramadan. And yeah, So according to some other readings I found, most of the readings I read was from Ecomina. So if you know Ecomina, they are an environmental hub, I guess, but it's based in Middle East. But they shared a lot of concerning statistics about food waste generated in Ramadan. In places like Mecca, Bahrain, Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, they had a lot of concerning statistics, but I don't really want to share that here. But according to them, on average in Ramadan, our food waste generation rises up by 25% on that month alone. Like, can you imagine, hari biasa sudah we waste so much, and then in Ramadan it rises up like again. So and then they also did some research and tried to understand why it happens. It happens due to many reasons. And then according to the authors from Ecomina, they, if you want to read their articles, I put it up on the end of my presentation later. But anyway, so they wrote several articles about food waste in Ramadan. So according to them, the rise in food waste generation happens due to many reasons. So first is due to increasing demands for food. So this is kind of obvious. Like when you think about Ramadan, you always think about food. So during this month, I'm not sure about the numbers in Brunei or Southeast Asia in general, but according to them, based on their findings, the demand for meat and other food produce like fruits and vegetables rises up by 50% from normal demand. So like, with higher demand, vendors actually are pressured to produce more food. Like it puts pressure on them to import more food and then to produce more food to sell. And obviously Ramadan is good for business. So they have to make profit as well. So it also has to do with social cultural attitudes. Societies have become very casual about food, like because it's so common. Like we expect food waste to happen in Ramadan, and it happens every single year. So because it happens so commonly, we become so desensitized. We just get used to it. We overlook the fact that it is an issue. We become desensitized and say that, oh, it's a natural thing that happens. When in reality, it isn't something that should be natural, right? It doesn't make sense to waste so much food. And yeah, so there's also a tendency to overbuy. And also, right, we also see high levels of charity, which is a good thing. But sometimes, macam kalau semua takkan bersedekah at the same place at the same time, the food goes underutilized because it doesn't get eaten. Like macam, if you just donate to a certain place and it gets too much. Not many people can even the hungriest person can never finish so much food that's donated at that place. So I think it's good to focus on areas that are less reached by people, and that will help. And to killing two birds with one stone, reducing food waste and also donating to people. And then there's the tendency for overbuying. It happens in Ramadan, it happens during Eid, it happens during festivities. It really happens many times. So we have the tendency to kind of waste a lot of food during good times. And then it also happens because some people prefer to eat different food. Masa sungkay yung mo makan ni, masa sahur yung mo makan ni. So they would throw away the leftovers from sungkay and want to eat something new during sahur. And then the changing patterns in food consumption patterns in Ramadan changes a lot. So it contributes to food waste generation. So in the next part, what time is it? All right. So in the next part, I'm going to talk a bit about the interconnectedness between food waste and our habits, lifestyle, and culture. So in this article, I wrote this article last year. This is based on what I learned from this research article. It's called Beyond the Throwaway Society. Basically, this article talks about why food that is bought for consumption ends up being wasted. So the author describes societies with high purchasing power and high rates of consumption as throwaway societies, because there's a tendency for us to throw away things that we buy. And yeah, it's very common in places young. It's so easy for us to buy things. And then it helps us to kind of understand our lifestyle and behaviors around food. So some things to note, right, from this article. It's about collective consumerism. I want to highlight this because this is a culture that we practice in Brunei. Collective consumerism is when you buy something, you don't just buy it for yourself. Bruneians are very caring in a way. Kalau kita nagkakadehan, kalau kita nabali ito, what about my sister? Maybe she wants this. What about my mom? What about my dad? I think I should buy this for them. I can't just buy this for myself. That would be so selfish of me. Maybe I should buy this for someone else as well. So this habit of collective consumerism really contributes to food waste to some extent. Because if you imagine going to Ramadan with your entire family, and then semua takkan membalikan untuk orang lain juga kan. So it would lead to a lot of waste. It's good that you care for each other, but then if it's too much, it ends up being wasted instead. So I think healthy communication really helps. Like, hari ini jangan balikan aku saja balik sendiri. And then the second point that I wanted to highlight from this article is he highlighted that a lot of the respondents for his research purchase things for the withholding stage. They buy things just in case they want to use it in the future. I'll get this vegetable just in case I want to start eating healthy. I'm gonna buy this I don't know, diet soda or something just in case I'm gonna eat it in the future. So they don't buy it for the present. They don't buy something that they want to eat at that time. Sometimes they just stocking up food just in case they want to eat in the future. But then sometimes they forget about these food, and then akhirnya bangas. And then I think this is when I read this is actually like a slap in the face for me, because sometimes I tend to buy food macam kononnya kan suka a healthier diet. Sekalinya macam 2 weeks later macam wilting sudah my sayur itu, so it doesn't work. So I tend to buy things. I don't even eat carrots, but sometimes I buy it just because I think, oh, maybe in the future I want to eat carrots, but it doesn't work. So the second article I wanted to highlight is this article by Russell et al. So this article talks a lot about the relationship between habits, emotions, and food waste. So the main highlight is about he talks about how our emotions about food waste, how emotions, reactions to issues about food waste, and our habits influences our intentions and also our actual behaviors to reduce waste. But basically, the main findings of this research is that when we experience negative emotions, I'm telling you this, right? And then you're like, oh my God, this is a serious issue. This food waste is a serious issue in Brunei. And then you have this sense of this strong feeling that, oh, I need to stop reducing waste. So this happens in this research as well. So they know that when they are more aware of the negative consequences of food waste, they have higher intention to reduce food waste. But the funny thing about this finding is that they have high intention to reduce food, tapi they end up wasting even more food, because the logic is like this. It's funny, but the logic is like orang ato, they're like, they know that it's an issue, but then because it seems so difficult, it seems so serious, that they choose to not think about it. Sekalinya akhirnya they actually waste more, So this is why I think fear mongering doesn't work. Now, it's good that we want to raise awareness that this is the damage, blah, blah, blah. But then, even when you look at the news or something, when they just talk about problems, it makes us feel hopeless. Like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm lost in all these problems, right? So you just feel paralyzed and you feel hopeless because you want to know the solution to it. You don't want to face a big issue just alone. And then Okay, I think I'm getting overexcited over this, but you know, so when you just know the problem, you don't know where to start. It sometimes paralyzes you from doing anything, and then you end up doing the opposite of what you intend to do. So this is actually a proven behavior based on this research last year. I'm not sure if it relates to everyone, but and then so anyway, the second point is that they said that when people have a think that they have a sense of control and have a support when they want to reduce food waste, that it actually works. So this is why I wanted to highlight on the difference between the things that we can control and the things that we cannot control. Like food loss, we cannot control that. That's up to like farmers to think about. But for us as consumers, most of us are only our control is only limited to the consumer level. So you know, when we focus on the things that we cannot control, it feels difficult. The issue feels difficult. But when we think about, okay, I'm a consumer, maybe I should make this decision. This is something that I can do. So it actually empowers you to make better decisions and make conscious decisions to choose better options. So he also said that with this, with this actionables, they encouraged to focus on building habits as an intervention rather than just raising awareness on the problem. So we need to tell people what to do after telling them the grave concerns of an issue, which is what I'm gonna do after this. So don't worry about it. What was I gonna say again? We need to focus. Okay, so I also actually found this relatable because I read a book recently. The book is called I Didn't Do the Thing Today by Madeline Dorr. She said when we want to tackle big issues, we need to break it down into smaller actionables. So she described this process as turning oceans into puddles. So turning the issue of food waste into small actionables, what we can do as consumers, what we can do in the kitchen, what we can do when we go out. So we can break this down into smaller pieces. So basically a summary of all that. Food waste is a complex and dynamic issue. So it goes, it's similar to other issues as well. So it's not really just about being wasteful. It's not just about being lazy or being careless. It has a lot to do with our lifestyle, our habits, our socioeconomic conditions. So which is why we need to practice mindfulness and understanding our own lifestyle and our own habits. Because we cannot use a solution that works for example, orang putih, they do this. Sometimes it doesn't work. It looks nice, but sometimes it doesn't work. You have to be mindful of your own lifestyle, of your own lifestyle habits at home with food. And yeah, like for example, I gave this example yesterday with the Green Brunei team. I said, what did I say? Astaghfirullahalazim. Okay. I said that if, for example, if you come from a family that doesn't eat fruits or vegetables, right, and then all you eat is meat, so it doesn't make sense for me to tell you that you should compost because the food that you eat aren't compostable in the first place, right? So, and also if you live a very busy lifestyle and you rely a lot on takeout food, it doesn't make sense for you to start by making grocery lists because in the end, babuang jua because you don't cook in the first place. So maybe the step that is suitable for you is to be more like creative with your leftovers, eat your leftovers, and yeah. And then, so it's okay. It's okay. But I just talked about some key actionables, right? So I'm gonna tell some tips how we can reduce waste because it takes a lot of practice to try to start a new lifestyle. So I love this sentence. It's called, it says motion affects emotion. Sometimes when we're too overwhelmed, it's because we don't know what to do. And the best step and the best thing to do is usually to just start anywhere. So once you start doing it, you get into the zone, which I'm sold, yeah, into the zone, and then you gain momentum from there. So you start by doing, So these are the things you can do. This is the food recovery hierarchy. We actually put out a more detailed content about this on our Instagram. Basically, the food recovery hierarchy, it explains ways to tackle food waste. So the top part is the best way. This is actually the way that is most beneficial for the environment, for society, for economy. And then makin turun, basically paling atas, if it's up there, it's important, and then it's least important at the bottom. So, reducing food waste. So the first step is actually to reduce the source reduction. So it's the saying that prevention is better than cure. That is actually so true, guys. Even in handling food waste, it's better to reduce something and prevent it from being generated rather than being so stressed out how to buang this thing, how to handle this thing from damaging our environment. So it's better to start with source reduction. And also when I was reading this, right, I came across some discussions about there's a reason why the 3 R's. There's a reason why reduce comes before reuse and recycle. So we need to focus on reducing it first, because there is only so much we can reuse and reduce. It will just go through the landfill. So the first step that we really need to focus on is reduction. But sometimes we flip it around. We focus so much on recycling first when it's not really a priority. I mean, especially in a society that doesn't have a recycling facility, for example, it doesn't make sense for us to stress on recycling when the main solution is to prevent the waste from being generated in the first place. And then the second one is feeding hungry people, basically to share. I think food waste is one of the type of waste that you can solve by sharing. As I mentioned before, usually it's not a matter of not having enough food, but it's a matter of not distributing it properly and not utilizing the food to its full potential. And then food to feed. We actually have a video of us feeding chickens at a local farm, but I cannot show you because of time constraints. But you can see that on our Instagram. We can feed animals with our leftover food, but be careful of sometimes they might get sick, so be careful of what you feed animals as well. And then the last one is composting, which is kind of funny. So I wanted to ask you your opinion, although I cannot read the chat box right now, but I want to know your opinion. Why do you think composting is one of the last strategies in the food recovery hierarchy? So if you have an idea, just put it in the chat box. But the answer is, again, it doesn't work for everyone, basically. That's not the only answer, but that's the answer I can think of right now. Okay, so these are some things that you can do. Prepare a grocery list, stick to it, and then start by understanding your family punya rhythm, and then keep track of how much food and money you throw away, and then learn proper storage techniques, plan your meals, be creative, eat your leftovers, learn tips to store produce longer, and then sharing with neighbors, and then start composting. So basically these things, right? If you just Google, it's there. There's not much variety in the strategies to prevent food waste. When you look it up, the same solutions come up over and over and over again. And there is a reason why I put this at the end, actually, even though this should be the highlight of the event, of the session. But basically, these are some tips that you can do. I'll explain more a bit later, but next I have a video of our sahur from last year. This was a fun event, in my opinion. So let's watch the video first. Susu. Ada. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was a fun video. I think Big Bagawan and Jastria has a challenge about that as well, related to that. And so I think you should check them out. I think they're doing a really good initiative. But anyway, actually, you guys, we are at the final session. I'm very sorry that it took me so long. I'm very sorry, but I think some of you might be wondering why I put the tips at the very end, and then I touched on it very briefly only. And I'm very sorry if you expected more from that, but I think, right, if you look it up, there's not much variety in the solutions to food waste. And then usually, right, we actually know the solution to a problem, and the problem that we face is actually trying to stick to the solution at all. Like, so that is why I took the more time explaining why we struggle so much trying to change our behavior, because that has more power to influence our lives and choices more than the tips. Yeah, so if you start by trying to understand yourself, why you do the things that you do, you will eventually, when you have this list of tips that you can do, you will find which one is more suitable to you. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. So you choose another one to follow. So that's why I wanted to highlight a lot on being mindful of yourself and being mindful of your habits. So actually, right, I thought of this just recently while trying to form this presentation. Last week, I met with my coach, my life coach. So he told me, right, katanya, if we don't sit down with ourselves and try to reflect on our shortcomings, on what we need to improve, if we don't take the time to sit with ourselves, we will choose to act subconsciously. So we will resort to what we're used to doing, and what we just go on autopilot if we don't reflect. And I think it relates to the habit of zero waste as well. It's really a habit more than a simple solution. Macam, if you're not aware, you will just follow your habits lah. If you come from, I think a lot of us didn't grow up with a family that is eco-conscious. We learned it when we became adults. So it will take time to learn and to establish a good pattern, a good pace for us to follow. And yeah, so yeah, okay, I don't know where I'm going with this now. So anyway, I have another story. Well, when I was getting ready earlier this morning, I have a mirror. So on my mirror, there's a quote that says, what does it say? It says, instead of looking for answers, make choices. I think this really relates to this topic as well. So I've given you a set of solutions how to solve the issue of food waste. I've given you tips, and if you look it up there, it will be the same tips over and over again. So I think one of the main solution is to make conscious effort to make good decisions every single time. It's not about us not knowing the solution most of the time. It's usually about us, it's just about us trying to make better decisions with our consuming habits most of the time. It doesn't make sense for us to buy so many things for a family of 3. So yeah, make better decisions every single time. Yeah. So don't wait to be perfect. Don't wait to macam, if I don't have a fancy reusable bag, then I can't practice a zero waste lifestyle. Don't wait for that. Just go with whatever you have. If you have a bag at home, just use that. If you have a reusable bag from, I don't know, from Wahoga, just reuse that. And if you have a container at home, just reuse that. You don't have to go fancy buying all these new reusable stuff just so that you can live a zero waste lifestyle. You can I think one of the messages that I wish someone told me earlier was to start wherever you are with whatever you have. If you have an old container, just use that old container. So yeah. Okay, so before I ramble on further, I think I will end the session here. So thank you so much for listening to me and tuning in and staying until the end. I really appreciate it. Now I'll hand the floor back to Brunei to move on to Q&A session. And I also have lots of chat to catch up with. So yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Hazira, for that eye-opening and insightful talk. Very, very interesting topics. Too bad Hazira couldn't see the chat box because everyone has been actively participating during the talk. Yeah. But all right, so now since Hazira can see the chat box already, this is your chance to ask everyone. Yeah, sorry, to ask Hazira. So we will now open the floor for Q&A session. Does anyone have any questions for Kilang Reroute? You can type in the chat box, or you can also open your mic if you have any questions. So yeah, any questions to ask? Okay, we'll give it a few seconds. Okay. Hazira is probably catching up on the conversations earlier. Okay, apa nih? Okay, so we have a question here from Rashidin. Bila Kilang Reroute event yang sahur?
Apa sahur? Oh, okay. So that's actually an event by Big Begawan. Big Begawan usually holds the Sahur Saturday, right? So we decided to go there just to show people how we can practice zero waste lifestyle, behavior at bazaars. Because kadang-kadang kan when we go to bazaar, it's people just give you stuff in plastic. And I see a lot of people making efforts to bring their usable bags, but sometimes we still generate a lot of waste with the package, the small packaging, right? Like tanya beli tongkeng, kena bagi plastic. Kena bagi minuman, kena bagi plastic. Kena beli cucur, kena bagi plastic. So we thought that it would be a good initiative to try bringing our own containers, and thankfully the vendors Masa Sahur Saturday was really cool. Saturday. Oh yeah, Masa Sahur Saturday were really cool, and they actually accepted us doing that. So maybe that is a good practice to try. Yeah, I think I saw Jastri having that initiative. Jastri having that initiative recently, so you can check that out. I'm very sorry, the chat box is so sealed.
Okay. All right, so we have another question here from Izian. How do you advise your mom to not waste food? So she has a habit like, oh, buying this and that. Lepas satu simpan nama-nama sampai banget. Sekali sisa na papande kata kau pun.
I hear that is so relatable. Because sometimes I cannot, ya Allah, my mom just does so many. I mean, it's understandable, right? I think our love language in Brunei is buying food. It's very understandable, but sometimes it gets annoying. Why are you buying so much? We don't need this. But yeah, sometimes I try to, I just tagur lah. If she's serving so much, like a few days ago, she was serving so much sungkai, and then I was like, Mom, we don't need this. Like maybe simpan lah untuk sahur first. Okay, usually that works for me because she, kadang-kadang macam, kadang-kadang sasak lang ya, tapi what am I supposed to do about it? So she understands sometimes, but if I can't, my mom really loves to splurge on food, which I understand as well. But what helps, I think, is sometimes I take over the kitchen. So that day, so I can have more control over it. I think it's very difficult, especially when when we are living with someone and you don't have that much power. I mean, power. macam awak di dapur, sometimes that's your mom's territory. Like, who are you to tell me what not to do, right, in my kitchen? But then I think it helps to swap roles sometimes. Sometimes I volunteer to cook because I know if yeah, sometimes they go overboard, right? So yeah, I just tell them though. I'm not sure about other. I'm not really. I've never, not never, but I don't really experience my mom saying, contoh siya to. Maybe other people, if they have any apa tu namanya, any experience with that, they can share as well.
Okay. Okay, we have another question here from YB. What policy change would you recommend to reduce food waste? So that's the first question. And then the second question, what are your thoughts about food banks?
Policy change we recommend to reduce food waste. I think currently I know that farmers have to follow this something called GAP. Yeah, GAP. So basically to maintain the freshness of produce, but it leads to a lot of plastic waste. But anyway, for food waste, right? I think Siti is here. I'll invite Siti to answer that later if she has something to say. But I can't really think about it. We've discussed this before, but I can't remember. I don't really have this answer on the top of my head. But my thoughts on food banks, I really support food banks. Actually, when we first started, we had a brainstorming sessions lab with the team, and the first thing I brought up was that one of my goals in Kilang Road is to start up a food bank, because at that time when I started joining Kilang Road, right, I was a research assistant for a project on poverty, and then it kind of matched at that time. So my mindset was like, it's such a waste because I'm listening to these stories about people not having enough food, but then suddenly I'm in Kilang Road and understanding that there's so much food being wasted in the country. So I really support food banks, but I'm not exactly sure how to move about with that. So maybe if we want to collab, yeah. But I really support food banks because it's a way for food redistribution. Food redistribution, because rather than just throwing away food that you don't want, other people want it. But yeah, I don't know. I have concerns about this, but I think this is not the space to talk about those concerns.
Okay, so we have another question from Alia. During Ramadan, my family always likes to blend onions, so we waste a lot of onion skins, potato skins, carrot skins. How to save them? What other ways we can reuse them? And then she said, I know carrot skins and potato skins you can make chips through oven, while onion skins. So how do you answer?
So the question is specifically about onion skins.
I guess how to save.
Oh, onion skins. I'm not exactly sure. Honestly, we don't. One of our we use the blended bawang. I don't know. I've onion skins. Usually people compost though. Yeah, but then I'm not really familiar with composting either. So yeah. But specifically about onion skins, that is interesting. But I know maybe you can buat like something like onion rings or something. Tapi hindi ko lang ko tahu skinnya masih cukup buang tuh. But yeah. Maybe I'll look it up. Maybe if I find a solution, I'll post it on Kilang Virut.
Okay. Okay. So another question from Yazid Yahya. In your point of view, is it possible to reach zero waste? Not just Brunei in general. If not, what is the acceptable amount of waste a country could have?
I think zero waste is impossible. Personally, I think, yeah, it is impossible. But measuring the acceptable amount of Jana, I haven't really looked up on the right amount of waste that is acceptable in different countries, but Astaghfirullahaladzim. Yeah, but what am I going to say again? I'm not really familiar with an acceptable amount of waste, but then we need to be able to recognize the strengths and our limitations as a country. Like, if you don't have proper facilities for waste management, it doesn't really make sense to generate so much waste. Especially when you compare it to a global average or something. If it's higher than that, and with a lack of facilities to manage your waste, it doesn't make sense to waste so much. But in terms of like empirical, a solid number, I wouldn't have a solution to that. But again, I if my team has a solution to this, I will invite them over to the floor. Yeah, we have Siti and Anika here. If they wanna turn on their mics and answer some questions. I see them active in the chat box. Oh yeah, using and making veggie stuff. Okay, Siti and Anika, do you have anything to say? Oh, nakadorong. Okay, I guess they don't have anything to say, sister.
Hi.
Oh, okay. Hello.
What was the question? Like, which one was the question?
What is a good amount of waste? I mean, that
There's
is
no
a bit
good amount of waste.
paraphrasing. What is an
what is
acceptable amount of waste a country could have?
yeah?
The good amount of waste the country could have?
Acceptable amount of waste.
Well, according to our apa tuh BCCS punya book, we estimate to at least generate 1 kg saja per capita per waste in Brunei, so we can reduce as much carbon footprint or carbon emission as possible. So 1 kg from 1.15 is an improvement. At least we start small, and then from there, if we can see improvement by 2030, then hopefully we can reduce it to less than 1 kg. So again, like Hazira mentioned just now, 0.6 kg per capita per waste should be the most ideal waste that we waste every day per person. So from maybe try to do at least 1 kg first as a whole country, and then as a whole world jua, and then we can reduce it as we go. So yeah, let small changes with everyone around the world. Yep.
All right. Thank you for that, Anika. Okay, so we're going to sorry.
That was Siti, right? The Siti, yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so we're going to accept one more question. Yeah. So from Izzat here, how can we make sure that the food yang disedekahkan during Ramadan not going to be wasted?
Well, am I on? Okay. So, well, we can't really confirm how, if the food is gonna be eaten or something, but we can be like mindful of, by seeing how many packs sudah kena donate, like being mindful of kalau ramai sudah orang donate, it's better for us to find another group or people, a place to donate to, right? I think it's not really a matter of not being enough. The purpose of sedekah is like trying to ease a burden, right? So it's not, how do I say this? Like, we shouldn't really aim for feeding every single person in Ramadan. Like, let's just focus on our, contributing something. So if we wanna like donate so that it's enough, if another person wants to donate so that it's enough, that will lead to excess also, right? So Yeah. Wait, I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, something I thought about earlier on. We can also reach out to places that are astaghfirullah, rarely reached out to. Yeah, and then maybe you can talk to your ketua kampong and maybe you don't know, like maybe your neighbor is someone who is in need, but you just didn't know about that. So trying to be more proactive, trying to find the people who actually need it. It's good. I think a good culture in Ramadan is that we share a lot of food. But yes, I do agree that it tends to lead to a lot of waste. So try reaching out to the places that yang jarang people reach out to. We of course we cannot guarantee that that the food will be eaten or anything, but I think making that conscious effort to just be mindful of kalau sana sudah ramai, let's choose another place because surely another place will need it more. So it doesn't matter if it's enough or not. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's enough or not. Usually, kan masa Ramadan, you don't lack food in Ramadan, even if it's sedekah. Surely people will sedekah also, but just try to be mindful of the amount lah. Macam kalau masih tu sudah macam kamu datang sudah bertimbun nasinya, jangan tambah lagi. So yeah, just try to be mindful of those things. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you for the questions, everyone, and the answers provided by Hazira and Siti earlier. Now we will proceed with the presentation of a certificate to our speaker, Ms. Hazira Zainashin. Okay. So we would like to take a photo with Hazira with the e-certificate. Yeah. Okay. You'll take over.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more time, freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
All right. Once again, thank you very much, Hazira, and everyone for your active participation this morning. We hope that you receive a lot of knowledge and a better understanding surrounding the issue of food waste from the Ramadan talk. Now, inshallah, together, this will help us in implementing a better habit in our lifestyle by reducing food waste. Now, in the meantime, please do follow Kilang Reroute and Green Brunei on our social media to follow up on other opportunities you can participate in. Thank you so much once again. Now we will end the session with Surah Al-As, which will be led by Mary.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, Mu'is. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you and stay safe, everyone. Bye. Thank you.